Hello viewers, welcome back to the Moose Mobile Auto Repair channel, and today we're working on a 2005 Toyota Corolla with the 1.8 liter engine, and we are just going to be replacing the battery today. So this particular battery on this Corolla is about 8 years old or so, and it's still working. However, I'm replacing it because there's a bulge on the battery case. It's swollen. So because of safety, I'm just going to replace it. It's very unheard of for a vehicle to go 8 or more years on the same battery in a climate like here in Canada. Usually here in Canada, you get probably like 4 or 5 years, probably at most 6 years tops, but the average here is 4 years for this climate. Now, if you live in hotter areas, say in the USA, in California or Florida, where it's very hot and the sun would be able to absorb all of the water, the electrolyte that's inside the battery. So probably over there will be average 3 years, but it's going to vary depending on the climate, on where you live, and the driving conditions. This vehicle doesn't really sit. It always gets used every single day for short trips and sometimes longer trips. So the battery is always being charged by the alternator. So that's why the battery is still good. I guess that we just got lucky with this one. So we went 8 years or so. I'm just replacing it for safety reasons. I'll show you in just a bit. So here's the old battery. I still have to take it apart. I don't know if you will be able to see that on camera, but there's a little bit of a bulge on the casing here. So I don't know if you can see that. On this side, on the positive side, and where the plates are, it's swollen. But on the negative side, it's flat. It's not swollen. So you can see there's no corrosion here, but there's corrosion over here. And every single week or so, I'm cleaning off the corrosion, and the corrosion is coming back very often. So I think that there's a problem over here. I think the battery could be sulfated or something, but I'm not really sure. Now I just don't want this battery to blow up or to explode or something and to cause a safety hazard. So that's why I'm replacing it today. So every single week or every 2 weeks, I'm cleaning off the corrosion, and it keeps on coming back very fast. And so by coincidence, it's swollen on the positive side of the casing. This is not very common in the automotive industry, but it still does happen. So anyways, I'm just gonna be showing you on the replacement now. So what I like to do before I start taking off the terminals, I just like to give it a quick clean first from on top, and then after that I like to spray a a chemical called CRC battery cleaner. And basically it cleans all of the corrosion and stuff, and there's an indicator to show that there's acid buildup when you're using this. I'll show you on how this works in just a minute. So I just like to do a quick clean with the wire brush before I take the terminals off. This vehicle has been routinely serviced, so I don't need to do too much cleaning on this particular one. But anyhow, I'm gonna spray the battery cleaner spray. I'm gonna spray a little bit on the terminals. This will help to clean the corrosion off. And alternatively, you can also just use like warm water and just to pour water over, and that will clean the majority of the corrosion. But you still have to use like a wire brush and a battery cleaner to clean the corrosion and stuff if there's any. So we'll let this sit for like a minute or so. We're gonna pour some like warm water over it to clean the corrosion. Regarding about the battery case, it could be a variety of reasons as to why the case got swollen in the first place. It could be because if you don't use the vehicle often in the winter time, the battery could freeze, because usually the proper level for the mixture on flooded batteries are usually the ratio for a flooded battery is 65% water and 35% sulfuric acid. So that's 100%. Water and sulfuric acid equals electrolyte. It's called electrolyte when you mix the two. So water 65%, sulfuric acid 35%, so 100%. That's the ideal ratio for a flooded battery. Over time, this will change because of use and wear and tear and charging and discharging. So that ratio is going to change. So if that ratio does not stay stable, then it's possible that the battery can get damaged over time. On typical flooded batteries today, they are not serviceable. Usually they'll have like the vent caps or something. On some batteries they have them, some batteries don't. So in this case, I can't really add water or anything or service the battery, so I can't really do much. So now it's been maybe a couple of minutes or so and of me talking. So we're just gonna pour some warm water over the terminals just to clean the corrosion. Just make sure before you pour water to make sure that everything is closed up, like the automatic transmission dipstick. Make sure it's in all the way so water does not get inside. So just be careful before you start pouring water over. And one other thing I forgot to mention on cars today, we have something called a memory saver that we can use to hook it up to the OBD port to retain the data and the computer parameters and stuff. So we have like a device you can hook up a memory saver to the OBD2 diagnostic link connector port if you want. So that way it's going to save and retain the information stored in the computer, the keep alive memory. They call it a CAM, KAM, the keep alive memory. So this way, so that all of the settings and the radio and stuff are saved. But on this car is not too. This particular vehicle is not very complicated in terms of there's not too many electronics versus other like modern vehicles today. So it's up to you if you want to use a memory saver or not. It's not the end of the world. It will just take some time for the computer to relearn the parameters and the settings for the driving conditions. You can purchase a memory saver from Amazon or something. It's like a little box and it plugs into the OBD2 port. So if you want, you can. If not, it's not really too big of a deal. So we're just going to remove the negative terminal first. This is a 10 millimeter. Just to loosen it out. Put this on the side. You should always loosen the negative terminal first and not the positive terminal, because if you disconnect the positive terminal and if that that terminal touches a piece of metal, then you are going to complete the circuit, and you're going to cause a short circuit. So it's always safer to remove the negative first, the positive last, and when you are connecting it, a positive first and the negative last. That way it's a lot safer. I'm not sure if this will be able to fit here, so I need to loosen that slightly. Take this out. There's not too much corrosion on this terminal, but we have to look underneath to make sure that the terminal is still okay. You should still inspect underneath for any like breakage or something on the terminal. In any case, if there's like a breakage or something in the terminal, then you will have to replace the battery terminal. In this case, these terminals are perfectly fine, so we're not going to touch them. So now I went from a 10 millimeter shallow socket to a deep socket, and so now I'm going to switch back to my deep socket if I'm able to fit it here, and to loosen the hold down hardware up. Loosen the hold down hardware and loosen the nut, the bolt here. I do know that replacing the battery is not rocket science, but I'm just making the video anyways for information purposes. So we're gonna remove the J hook and the hardware. If there's too much rust or something, you can sand down and clean the rust. And in some cases, I like to spray paint, like to clean this up and to spray paint the hardware if you want, but you don't have to. So this battery is a Group 35 battery. We're just going to be replacing it with the same style type of battery. So take the battery out. You can take this out if you want, and to clean it, to get rid of any dirt or debris. Just make sure that you don't forget to put it back in. So now if you want to, if there's any like rust or corrosion on the ground strap, it's a good idea to clean that with like a wire brush or something, or a wire wheel. Just make sure that all of the connections are inspected properly. There's no corrosion, there isn't anything loose. Make sure that everything is tight, and if there's any rust or corrosion or any like breakage in the wiring or anything, and then you need to watch out for that. So if anything has to be replaced or serviced, and then do so now, because otherwise you will have problems later down the road. So I'm just doing a quick inspection on the ground cable here. I see that the sheath is kind of sliced off a tiny bit, but it's not like too big of a it's not too big of a deal or a problem at the moment. So I'm just going to leave that. It's still okay, so I'm just going to leave it. So I'm using a Group 35 battery. Just compare the old and the new, and make sure that the placement of the terminals are on the correct size. Positive with positive, and negative with the negative. Make sure everything is correct before you install a new battery. Also, when you get a new battery, you want to make sure you try to get somewhat the freshest one, like no more than 2 or 3 months old tops. These guys gave me one from I think there's a stamp somewhere that I saw earlier. There'll usually be a date code or something. It says here May 2024. It's approaching close to the end of July now, so this is probably like 2 months or so old, so that's okay. uh, it's always a good idea to test the battery out first before you put it in. I'm not sure how old this one is, but I believe it's like 8 or 9 years old now. I'm not sure if there's a date here anymore. It's probably in the like faded away. This is a CAA a battery. You can see the bulging here. There's a bulge here. It does not look safe. That's all I can tell you right here. You can see there's a big crack or something, or bulge in the casing. So this is not safe to have because it's possible that this can cause an explosion, and it will create a hazardous situation. It could destroy the vehicle and possibly the occupants in the vehicle in under rare circumstances. So you can see the bulge here is not perfectly flat on this one. So I'm just going to test the two batteries just to see how they are side to side. This says 12.88 volts, so it's a bit overcharged. It still has a surface charge. Fully charged battery is 12.6 volts. Now this is outside the vehicle, top post regular. This is about 650. Said that the battery is good. It's measured at 666, rated at 650. And this is the state of health and state of charge is still good, but I'm just replacing it because of safety reasons. Now we'll have a look at the other battery. $12.64, pretty much fully charged. I think this is at 640. This is 795 cold cranking amps, rated at 640. Everything is 100%. Internal resistance 4.57. I'm not sure if that's ohms. Not sure what MR is. But yeah, so that's just the resistance. So now I'm just gonna do a quick clean on the battery terminals. I'm going to put this back first. Just gonna do a quick clean on the terminals and just wash it down again afterwards. You can use a battery terminal cleaner tool or something or whatever. And it's probably a good idea to wear safety goggles as you're doing this so you don't get anything in your eyes, especially when you're dealing with a battery. Because a battery contains a hydrogen gas, so in some cases batteries can explode if anything were to happen. It's not something that happens often. It's a rare occurrence, but things can still happen with the lead acid batteries or the flooded batteries. You can just give this a wipe if you want. To install the new battery, make sure the battery holder, plastic holder, is aligned properly in the holes, otherwise it won't sit inside properly. You're gonna install the J hook. Usually, this vehicle has been serviced, so I don't really need to spray anything. You can spray like white grease or fluid film or something, but this has already been serviced already, so I don't really have to do much. So I like to install the hole down first before I install the terminals. This you just need to line up down in the hole before you tighten it up. Install this. Tighten this down. And we need to line up the J hook into the hole on where the plate is. You guys won't be able to see it from here, but I don't know if you guys can see that. It's very hard to show that on camera, but there's a hole which it needs to go into. So you need to line that up and hold it in place as you are tightening down the nut on the battery. So you will need to adjust the battery into its proper position before you tighten this up. Just trying to get it to hold down as I'm tightening this up. So now we are ready to install the terminals, positive first. And make sure it's seated all the way down. Now, in case that you're not able to get the positive terminal in, there are some tricks that you can do. You can either use a battery terminal spreader tool to put underneath or on top, put it inside here to get it inside and to squeeze, and this will help to expand the terminals, so you're able to get it in. So you put this tool inside and you can just squeeze to expand the terminal. If you don't have that tool, you can use like a flathead screwdriver and to push or pry in between here and see if that works, and loosen up the nut a tiny bit more and see if that works. So we're gonna reinstall the terminals now, positive first. Just making sure it's in all the way. Tighten up the nut. You just need to tighten it down snug. You don't need to over tighten it. And then install the negative last. There's the updated brand new style caps that are easier to take off now by hand. Earlier they had the other style caps, plastic caps. You have to use like a flathead screwdriver to pry them off. Install the negative terminal. Now, in some cases, when you install the negative terminal, it may spark a tiny bit. You may see a little bit of smoke, but that's normal. And tighten this up. That should be all good for the installation. Just making sure that the terminals are tight and not loose. Make sure that the battery, see, it's still loose, so we probably have to tighten this up a tiny bit more. You don't want the battery to be loose and moving around, because the vibration will destroy a car battery. Just tighten it down enough so that the battery does not move all over the place. So that's good. And we're just going to spray some lubrication so that we prevent corrosion. You can use like white lithium grease or something. I have the Toyota battery terminal protector spray. You can use this as well, or fluid film or something. Even if you have a petroleum jelly at home, like Vaseline or something, that also works too, to prevent corrosion. It's safe to use because it's a petroleum based. I can use this stuff, the blue Toyota paint stuff, and spray it on the terminals, and that will help to protect it from corrosion. It's a little bit much, but that's okay. That's not going to do anything. So, and then you have to wait some time for this to dry up. I think that should be enough. A little bit excess, but that's okay. So I'll wait until this dries up, and then we'll just reinstall the positive terminal protective cap afterwards. So I'm inside the vehicle. On these Toyota vehicles, they go into some sort of a memory reset. So if you try to start it right away, the vehicle will start and stall. And then the second time you try to start it, then it will work. It doesn't do any harm or anything, but usually to avoid that, you just keep the ignition on for half a minute or so, up to a minute, and then try to start it, and then it won't stall. I'll show you on what I mean. I'm just going to start it. It's gonna start and stall. Well, in this case, it did not stall, but usually on Toyotas, they start and then stall, and then the second time they just start. But in this case, it did not do that. So anyhow, the vehicle started. You can let it run for some time if you want, but that's all there is to it. I'm going to conclude the video now. I'm going to shut it off. Restart it, just making sure everything is okay. You can adjust the clock if your clock is still working. On these Corolla models, they usually stop working after some time. I kind of gave up with the fixing with this because it's a very long story, but anyways, you can adjust the presets for the radio and stuff, and then that's it. So once it dries up, you can just reinstall the positive protective cap, and then you should be all good to go. So one last thing I forgot to mention was about these terminal washers that I like to install these days on batteries, because these terminal washers, they really help to prevent corrosion around the terminals. It's just that every now and then I forget to install these, so it's probably a good idea to get these and put them on the terminals, on the post, and then just put the terminal on top and reinstall. It's perfectly safe to use these. This probably costs like maybe a couple bucks at the parts store, so it's not a bad idea to use these. So that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please don't forget to give it a like, and please consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already a subscriber, and please don't forget to hit that bell notification, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day and take care.